Hello dear friends, my name is Muditha Pelpola and I am working as a business intelligence consultant for past 8 years. This is my 7th YouTube video. Today my topic is how to build a simple ETL with Azure Databricks. Main reason for this topic is actually related to my project related experience. Currently I am working on a data lake implementation for an insurance company. There I faced a problem, a challenge to deal with large volume of data. For some scenarios, I use Azure Databricks, and today I am going to share my experience with you, and I think it will help you to sort out your uh, problems related to big data or large data sets. Okay, let's look into our business scenario. Info M3. This is a ERP system. I worked with this ERP 5+ years for BI implementations, dashboards and report development, data warehouse development. And I am going to take a simple scenario from this ERP system and I'm going to explain how to build a simple ETL process. In my YouTube channel, I explain how to extract tables from ERP system into the data lake. I'm not going to cover this part. I'm going to talk about this process. With the SQL BI is my YouTube channel, and there I talked about how to extract data from M3 ERP system and or any other system using Azure Data Factory. Now, if you watch these two videos, you will able to understand how to build a simple pipeline using Azure Data Factory to extract tables or information into a data lake. Okay, let's move on to our scenario. According to my scenario, I'm going to explain how to access data lake from Databricks and do a simple transformation, and how to push that final or transform data into a Azure SQL database. Now, for that one, we need to have some information available in data lake. Now, in that case, I have two sales table now available in data lake. Those two files I extracted from M3 ERP system using Azure Data Factory. Now that part actually I completed. I'm not going to explain that one. As I mentioned in earlier, you can watch my two YouTube videos to get an understanding how to extract data from a system into a data lake. Okay, first let's look into why we need Databricks. What are the advantages if we use Azure Databricks as a ETL tool? Okay, let's take data lake as a scenario. You know that you can store any size or any type of data in the data lake, right? For example, let's say ERP system, terabyte, gigabyte data in you can store in data lake. Excel files, PDF files, structured, unstructured data, video, audio files. Now, to process these data and get a meaningful thing from it, to do that one, you need to have a very powerful compute power, right? For that problem, simple answer is Azure Databricks because it's a zero management, fast cloud platform for big data processing. Another point is that you can use multiple programming languages on it: Java, Scala, Python, R, and standard SQL. Right? With this all option, Azure Databricks is a very useful thing or tool for big data processing. Okay, let's move on to our business scenario, M3 sales processing, and how to implement a simple ETL process with Azure Databricks. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to extract available sales information in data lake using Azure Databricks. Let's see how to do it. Okay, now I log into Microsoft Azure portal using my subscription. Now I will show you my data lake information. Now this is the storage account that I created for this scenario, M3 sales. Now in this M3 sales, you will see this container section, and there I created a container called sales files. And the inside that sales file container, I have two folders, OD line and OO line. OD line is the invoice line table in M3 system. OO line is the sales order line table. I both tables are extracted as Parquet format. You can see dot Parquet extension, right? Okay, now sales information now available in data lake. Now let's see how to access these files using Azure Databricks. Okay, let's go back to home. Now I created a workspace Azure Databricks service right off ADB thing. I actually created this for my R&D purpose. I'm going to use it here. Okay, now once you create, you can create a workspace, and I'm going to launch my existing workspace. Right. Okay, sign in. During that, I will show you how to create a workspace. Now here you can see create resources. Now there you can see you can type Azure Databricks. Let's say Databricks, Azure Databricks, right? Now you can see this service. You can create it. Once you create the service, you will able to launch a workspace. Right, now this is my workspace. Now first thing that you need to have is the compute power. Now in this case, the cluster is the uh, machine, or can say the node for our ETL tool, ETL extraction process. Now I already created a cluster, M3 sales cluster class. This is my existing Databricks cluster. Now you can create it using this button. Let's look how it looks. Here you can give a name, and you can select the processing properties. Based on your requirement, you can increase the processing power, and you can change the runtime, and there are several options you can change, and you can have a very powerful machine. Okay, to implement that our sales process, we have to go into the workspace, and there we have to create a notebook, right? The notebook, you can select the language Python, Scala, or anything. Now here in my scenario, I selected Python as my programming language, and you can give a name M3. Let's say M3 sales process. Okay, let's create that one. Okay, now this is our notebook. Here you can type your Python command based on your language selection. You can type your command. Okay, let's see how to connect, make a connection with Azure Data Lake. Okay, here you can see already coded notebook. I'm going to explain one by one. Now first thing is you have to have a active running cluster to execute these cells or the code. Here I mentioned that I already created a cluster. Now you can see the configuration of this cluster. It's a 42 GB 12 core Spark 2.4.5 machine. Now first thing is we need to establish a connection with Azure Blob Storage, right? Now let's go to our data lake or the Azure Blob Storage. Here you can see the properties. Now you can see these access keys, right? Click here, and then you have two keys. You can refresh and you can change the key. Now I use the first key. Now you copy this key, and here you can paste that key here, and you can use Azure Vault to store. Now hard coding the keys like this way, it's not recommended. And you can store that key in Azure Vault, and you can access it from here. In next video I will show you how to do that one. Now here for this scenario, I'm going to use this hard coded key. Okay, now we set the key, and all first thing is actually the storage account name. Storage account name is this one, the empty sales, that I already created for this scenario, right? This is the storage key, storage name, and then the storage key, and this part Spark config that will establish a connection with this storage account. Let's execute this part. It's running. It's successfully executed, right? And the second thing is that then we have to access the files, right? Now let's go back to our data lake. Now let's go to overview. Here we have the containers. Now this is our container. Inside the container we have two folders, and inside the folder we have the files, right? Now we already created a connection with our data storage account or the data lake, and there I'm going to access these two files. Now first thing is that we have to mention the blob container name. Then I mentioned two file paths because I have two sales tables available in the data lake. First thing is the OO line, and second one is the OD line. Now here I to access Azure Blob Storage, this is the method that you need to create a path WASBS to initiate the Azure Blob Storage, and there you need to mention the blob container, the sales files blob container, this one. You can see the container sales files, right? And then you have to mention the storage account. The storage account variable will be already created as empty sales, and then this part blob.core.windows.net, and then the file path. The file path is started here. We have two folders, right? OD line and O line. Inside the folder we have the files, right? And O line. These are the folders, and then the files, right? And this is Spark read format is the command to read files, and they are inside that command. There is a parameter to specify the file type. Now our file is packet format. Now I mentioned the packet, and then the file path, right? And then these properties. Okay, let's execute this one. Okay, it's successfully executed, right? Okay, let's look at the data inside this of the files. Actually, I forgot to mention that we read that Parquet file format, and we store that information into a data frame. Now you can define a data frame without initiating the data frame. You can create a variable and you can store the data. Now these two are the actually data frames, right? Now here you can see the O-line file. Now these are the columns. If you click here, you can see all the columns now available in this data frame or O-line data frame, right? Or you can download it as a CSV file also, and you can analyze as a chart. This option available here, right? Let's look at our OD line or the sales line file. Okay. Right now this is the O line, the sales line file, and this is the invoice line file, right? Now the next step is to join sales line and invoice line empty tables and filter for order status 77. Order status 77 is the invoice sales. To get the sales invoice sales order, you have to filter the order status 77, right? I'm going to join these two files using this keys. The Kono is actually company, and then the warehouse WHLO, then the ORN is the order number, and the PONR is the sales order line, right? Using those keys, I'm going to merge or join these two files, right? Now to do that one, you have to use this command. Now this is the first file, the main file or line, and I'm going to join the OD line file, and then I have to specify the condition, right, like this way. And I mentioned that to get invoice orders, you have to filter out order 77 status. Now the order status available in O line table, there I'm going to filter out 77, order status 77, and I'm going to select few columns from it, because these are the columns that I need for a sales data set. Now there are a lot of columns available in these tables. I don't want all these things. Now according to my requirement, I need only these columns, right? Okay, let's execute this part. Okay, it's completed. Now here I stored all filtered and joined data for these columns in this M3 OL OD data frame. Okay, that's done. Let's visualize it. Let's display this dataset. Yeah. Now you can see, now I selected these columns, OBCon, WHLO, those things I extract. Okay. Now here you can see, if you go select, yes, let's take this order number, right? Now you can see this OB Kono is the start from OB is O line table, sales line table. Now here you can see same company, same warehouse, order number, same order line, right? Now you can see from UB is start for this UB is for OD line table, the sales invoice line table. Now you can see for sales same sales order and line, there are duplicate information, right? Now to remove those duplication, we need to do some aggregation operation, right? Now let's see how to do it. Okay, here you can see duplicated information in this output. Now I'm going to remove these duplicate, and I'm going to create a proper data set. Okay, to do that, we need the aggregation operation or group by operation in SQL terms. Now here I'm going to import this library, this spark.sql.function library, and then I can use this group by command to aggregate this data set. Okay, here I'm going to use these first columns, the OB Kono company, WHLO warehouse, ORNO as the order number, line number, and then the status, ORST as the status. So all the columns starting from OB belong to OO line, that means M3 sales line table. Starting from UB belongs to OD line table, sales invoice table, line table. Then I'm going to use 5 columns: company, order number, line number, order quantity, and the status. And then I'm going to average the price. UBSAPR, this column stand for sales invoice price, line price, and the UBQT stand for sales invoice quantity. Okay, let's execute this command. Okay, it's executed successfully. Let's visualize the data set. Okay, now you can see OB Kono RNO, now it's aggregated. Okay, now I'm going to create a calculated column using existing data, because I want to multiply these two columns and create a sales value column. Now how to do it? Now there I'm going to use our data frame. Now here I aggregated using these columns and these columns, and I stored that final data set. the aggregated data set in sales df data frame, and this is how we display it or visualize it. Now I'm going to create another calculate column to multiply these two columns, the sales price, sales invoice price into invoice quantity, and I renamed it as alias as sales value. Right, another column for conditional formatting. There I'm going to use this IVQT, invoice quantity. This quantity, if this invoice quantity is greater than or equal to the order quantity, then I'm going to define it's the on-time delivery. OTD is for the on-time delivery. On-time delivery as 1. If not, it's say 0. Right. To now you can see this with column command. Now to have this command, you need to import this library. Okay, let's execute this one. Okay, it's successfully executed. Right, let's display it. Okay, now you can see new columns, calculated column, sales value, and the on-time OTD, the conditionally formatted column. Right. Okay, now you can see it's OB, Kono, ORNO, not readable names, actually readable for us, but not for business users. There I'm going to rename these columns using proper names. Now OB Kono, here you can see OB Kono as company, ORNO as order number, PONR as order line number, then ORQT as order quantity, ORST as order status, UBSAPR as invoice price, IVQT as invoice quantity. Right, now there to rename columns, I'm going to use this with column rename command to. Okay, let's execute this one. You can see all the columns get renamed. Okay, now our proper formatted transform dataset is available with us, and right now I'm going to push this dataset into a Azure SQL database. Let's see how to do it. To do that, I need two libraries. This from PySpark. One is PySpark SQL config and Spark context libraries, and also Spark session library. Okay. In here I mentioned some variables: database name, table, and user and password. This is my Azure SQL database, and the table that I am going to store this transform data, and the username password. There I am going to use the SQL authentication to write information into the database. Now this is our final formatted or the transform dataset, sales DF. Then I'm going to use the write mode as overwrite. Overwrite means if this will check the table available. If the table is available in the database, then it will create. If it's available, it will drop and recreate it. Then we are going to use the method as JDBC, and then now we have to specify the server information and the port information. Then the database name, it's a variable. We'll pick this variable here, and then the table variable, username and password, then the driver information, and the save command will to insert the information into the database. Okay, let's execute this part. Okay, before that, let's check our database. Now this is my Azure SQL database. Now let's refresh and check. Okay, we don't have any table available in this database. Okay, let's execute this part. Okay, successfully executed. Let's refresh this table section. Yeah, we can see now our formatted dataset as M3 sales. Yeah, now the data available in the SQL table. Okay, this is the end of our session. This process. I think this steps will help you to sort out your Azure Databricks related problems, how to establish the connection, how to do some certain operation joins, these things, and it will help you to sort out your problems. Okay, as I mentioned, you will able to learn these tips how to connect it to Azure SQL data lake, sorry, Azure data lake, and how to build main operation, joins, filtering, aggregation with a data frame using PySpark, and how to connect it to SQL, Azure SQL, and how to save formatted or transform data in a database. Okay, thank you for your time, and thank you very much for this watching this video.